Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, in this episode I show you how I shot New York from an helicopter with the Sony A7S. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, my name is Serge Rameli. I'm a French photographer living in the warm city of Paris, France. Right now I'm in the amazing, very cold city of New York. And I make 2 tutorials per week. Click here if you want to get the raw file of this episode and all the past episodes, including Lightroom presets, Photoshop actions for free. All you have to do is subscribe to my newsletter. And click here if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In last episode, I gave you some tips and tricks on shooting long exposure at night. Check it out. This week, I made an old dream come true. I took the Sony A7S, which you know is a camera that's very good for shooting in the night, and I went with my daughter on an helicopter ride around Manhattan Island, and I tried to shoot. Now it's very technical to do that, to get the best photo possible, but I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on shooting from an helicopter with this type of camera. All right, mesdames et messieurs, so as I said in the intro, I made an old dream come true by shooting New York from a helicopter, a chopper. It was really an interesting experience, and this is something that I did not want to do until I had a camera that was good enough for low noise. And since the Sony A7S came out, which is known to go to 406 or something, over 400,000 ISO, I've been wanting to try this. So I went onto the chopper, and I had exactly, now this is my website, photosearch.com. If you click on my gear, you can see all the gear I'm using. And here you have a little package, which is a Sony Alpha A7S with the 2470. I actually went with that and with this lens, the Sony 35-8. And so I had actually the Sony A7R with the 2470 on, and had the Sony A7S with the 35mm on at 2.8. And I wanted to shoot, my daughter was shooting with the Sony A7R and I was shooting with the Sony A7S, and I wanted to see if it was possible to get decent photos. And I was doing this for a gallery where we wanted to make big prints. So let me show you the result. So I'm going to jump over to Lightroom, and I'm going to start from the start. I'm going to turn this like this and actually make this like this so you can see better. So I'm not going to show you everything, but okay, now this is with the helicopter who starts to go up, and I'm at 8,000 ISO, 2.8, 1/80 of a second. So what I went to 2.8 with a 35mm because that's the highest aperture you can do. And even that, with at 1/80 of a second, the helicopter was moving a lot. And if you look at that first photo, it's blurry. I mean, I was out of focus too. I decided to do everything on autofocus because I was really so scared that manual focus was not going to work, because the distance between the buildings and me was changing all the time. So I'm not going to show you every shot because I literally did a video. I was shooting every... that's another trick I did, is I put the camera on taking, when you press the button, it just takes multiple shots. So it just steps, shots all the time. So I put it on this mode, so it's almost like a video. So I started with this setting, 1/80 of a second, 2.8, ISO 8,000. I know this camera can deliver really good things about, up to about 12,000. So let me show you some of the more interesting shots. This is the Statue of Liberty in Manhattan Island, but a lot of photos were out of focus. But as we got closer to Manhattan, let me show you around here. This is a photo that's retouched. We got closer to Manhattan. If you zoom in, this is retouch. I went down to 6,400 ISO because Manhattan was very well lit, and the game is always to shoot with the smallest ISO possible. So I'm not going to show you every photo. I'm just going to show you the photo that I retouched. Now, retouching this photo is a bit tricky, and I'm going to make a full course on all my New York photos, including a full course on how you retouch these photos, because there's a lot of noise going on, and it just takes it takes quite some time to get a good result. Anyways, let me show you some of the photos that I got that I really like. These are retouched photos in Lightroom, and so this one is as 1/80 of a second, and actually that setup of 1/80 of a second, 2.8, and ISO 6,400 was the best. So
This is another shot that I got very similar to this one. That's actually the exact same one. That's another shot. And if you look at it, if you zoom in, they're pretty sharp. Some of them, this one, there was a lot of dark there. So some of them, you know, this is very light, this is very dark. So it's lacking a bit of details. But overall, I was really happy with the result. And this one, there's a bit of movement. But if I go on the next one, one thing that I do is, if I go on the next one, which is basically almost the same framing. This is not just the same copy. This is another one, very similar framing. So the problem with the chopper moving is that sometimes I was getting blurry shot like this, you know, with a little movement in the light. And I don't want that. What I want is something like this, where there is no movement at all. Yeah, this is the photo, no movement at all. And so what I did is I boosted up the speed to 1/100th of a second, and then I went to ISO 8000, and I still had an okay quality. But that was kind of a mistake, and this is why I'm doing this video. If you get a chance to go, honestly, the best value that I think is really the one I started with, which was 1/80th of a second. True, you will get a lot of blurry shots, but you will also get, you know, if you go on multiple shots, like one shot out of 3 should be pretty sharp. So, and the thing is, and I intend to make big prints with this photo, and Sony A7S is only a 12 million pixel, but I blew up the pixels to like 40 millions using Photoshop, and the quality was still very good. But you have to do a very good retouching, especially with the noise, and I'm going to show that to you on my New York course when it comes out. I believe in about 10 days. So this is some of the shots, some of the best shots that I got. I was really happy about it. It actually really worked well. I have about 5-6 photos, which I think can end up in a gallery, which was the whole purpose of this. And now I want to show you a little comparison with the Sony A7R. So the Sony A7S is a 12 million pixel, which has better ISO. Now I made a collection here. This is it. And I have 2 shots. Both of them are retouched. And actually, this one is not retouched. Let me show you the retouched version. I'm going to go to develop. I did a little bit of retouching on it. Let me go into the history on this one, which is here. Yeah, before the reset. Okay, so that's the best I could do. Now, this is a 36. If I press I, you see it's a 36 million pixel file. It's a Sony A7R. And it was shot at 8000 ISO at 1/50th of a second at f4. Now the problem is that the lens I was using could only open to f4. But I just want to show you, compared to this one, I'm going to select both photos and press C. If you press C on the keyboard, you go into the compare mode, which is very useful for that. And I'm going to zoom in at 100% on one of the photos. It's going to do the same thing on both photos. So this is a Sony A7R and this is a Sony A7S. Now I'm not sure you will be able to see it. Right now it's loading, but there is, yeah, here we have it. There's so much noise at 8000 ISO that this is not usable for a big print. However, at 6400 ISO on this one, it is usable for a big print. I don't know if you can tell, but it's very noisy. It's actually not very sharp. And none of the photos I got out of the Sony A7R would make it into, maybe into a book, but not as a fine art print like the one from the Sony A7R. And you know, even so, this is a 12 million pixel. What I do is once I've retouched the photo, let me show you this to you. I open it up in Photoshop, so I press Command E. Okay, so once I'm in Photoshop and I want to prepare it for print, what I do is I go to the crop tool, and I make sure that I have the option when you're on the crop tool that you have the option called W for width, H for hatch, and resolution. Okay, and usually what I do is I put like 105 centimeter, which is, I don't know, I guess it's about 25-30 inch width by about 70 centimeter high. And that's what I do with my printer. I only use about 240 dots per inch. It's still gonna make a big file. It's still gonna be a very, very big file. So I just do that, you know, I do my cropping, but it happens to be pretty precise. And what that's gonna do when I press enter is that it's gonna boost the resolution of the photo to be so big. So now the image, if you look at it, is like a 10,000 pixel long. So it's like a 50 million pixel, 80 million pixel file. It's a huge file. And at the base of it was a 12 million file. But the thing is, the quality of the pixel matters. It is better to have a 12 million pixel file, which has nice pixels, that you can boost to make a huge print like I'm doing now, than to have this file, which is a 36 million pixel file already. It's a pretty big file, but it's so noisy and not sharp that it's not usable. That really is the moral of the story. So what I did to make the big prints, once I've retouched, and again the retouching is a bit tricky because you have to do local noise reduction and play around with colors, and I have a full course coming out on that and many more out of this New York adventures. But anyways, once you've got retouched the photo, usually all I do is I make it to the size that I want, and then I over sharpen it. I have done tutorials on that in the past, and I just sharpen it so much that it looks too much sharpened on the screen, because when you print it, what's going to happen is that it's going to smooth out again. And also I have done many tutorials on that. If you just type Sergio Armedi printing, for example, on my YouTube channel, you can find tutorials on that. Voila. So I hope you do get a hold of the Sony A7S. If you do buy it, please use my gear page on my website. It helps, finance all the free stuff that I do. It's an amazing camera. I'm really in love. And I only use it for video or for this type of shooting when it's very low light situations like this, and tripod is not an option. Voila. Hope you like this, you found this interesting, and back to me.
If you have any ideas or suggestions of tutorials you want me to do, leave me a comment in the YouTube section here. And I will see you very soon in another episode. Mesdames et messieurs, au revoir.